All right, let's get right to it. This is a strategic briefing designed for one reason and one reason only, to give you a real operational advantage when you're trying to secure those major institutional-scale energy deals. We're going to break down the critical methodology that separates the buyers who actually close deals from those who, well, never even get a response. Let's dive in. Now, this right here, this is the single most misunderstood reality in the entire world of high-stakes energy sourcing. You see, most buyers, maybe even you, believe the game is all won or lost on price. But the truth is, that's just fundamentally wrong. The real failure point, the one that kills your deal in complete silence, happens way before your team even thinks about tabling an offer. So what is that failure point exactly? Well, it's all about access. The real barrier to entry isn't about who has the deepest pockets. It's about whether or not you understand the unwritten rules, the institutional framework that governs every single one of these transactions. Let's break down what that actually means in practice. Okay, look at this. This slide really nails the huge disconnect we're talking about. The common approach, what most people do, is they lead with price. It makes sense in a lot of other markets, right? But in the world of major refineries and trading houses, it's an immediate red flag. It's a non-starter. You see, they operate in a closed network. The institutional reality is that you have to lead with pre-verified credibility. Price? That's just a secondary filter they use after you've already proven you're a serious, transaction-ready player. And that's what creates this huge credibility gap. When a buyer uses the wrong approach, a cold email or responding to some public listing, it isn't just ignored. Oh no, it's much worse than that. It's actively flagged. From the seller's point of view, an unverified stranger isn't an opportunity. They're a potential threat, a liability. And here's the exact term they use internally. This is crucial: compliance risk. Now, you gotta understand, this isn't some clever negotiation tactic to gain leverage. It is a procedural wall. The compliance departments inside these massive institutions are literally designed to screen out anyone who hasn't done their homework. If your organization gets tagged as a compliance risk, the conversation is over. Just full stop. Okay, so how do you avoid getting screened out? How do you get past that wall? You have to build what the market calls transaction readiness. And this isn't just about having the cash ready to go. No. It's about creating the entire credibility infrastructure that these institutional sellers demand before they'll even think about opening a data room for you. Which, of course, brings us to the core of the strategy. If cold outreach is a disaster and leading with price is a mistake, how do you correctly build the kind of access you need to execute these deals? Well, the answer lies in a really disciplined step-by-step process. And this lays it out perfectly. It's 4 steps, and you cannot skip a single one. First up, mandate definition. This is where you formally document your financial capacity and make sure it lines up perfectly with the seller's own logistical and compliance needs. Second, counterparty screening. This is where your identity and your funding are verified through official, regulated channels, and this happens before any talk of price. Third, and honestly, this is the step that unlocks the whole thing, the formal introduction through a credible intermediary. Think of them as a professional translator, taking your intent and reformatting it into the language of institutional risk and compliance. Only then, once all of that is done, do you finally get to step 4, negotiation. So, you do all this work, what's the payoff? Why is this a strategic advantage? Because following this process isn't just about getting to a yes. It's about avoiding the very significant, very real-world costs that come from getting your sourcing methodology wrong. And the cost of that friction is just immense. We're talking about timeline erosion, where a deal that took months to build is suddenly suspended over a simple documentation gap. We're talking about counterparty attrition, where potential sellers just lose interest and walk away. What you have to remember is that institutional sellers prioritize transaction speed and discipline above almost everything else, often even more than getting a slightly higher price. A flawed approach just creates friction, and friction destroys both of those things. So, the ultimate takeaway is this: your company's sourcing methodology is not an administrative task you can just delegate. It's a C-suite level strategic decision that directly impacts your bottom line and determines whether you can even participate in this market. The critical question you should be asking isn't just, what's our offer? It's, is our approach even built to get us in the door?